The Federal and Francis Xavier Engineering College jointly present the Nellai Marathon 2024. This event is powered by Little Flower Public School and NIMS Hospital, Tirunelveli. Run for Health on Sunday, December 29. Entry is free and all are welcome. Hello and welcome to The Federal. In this episode of Worldly Wise, The Federal's managing editor K.S. Dakshinamurthy, who closely tracks international developments, talks to us about the friendly overtures between India and China, what it means for India, and whether it's a response to tensions with the US and Canada over Khalistan and a few other unexpected irritants. Thank you for joining, sir. My first question to you is, are we seeing a change in India's foreign policy vis-a-vis China?
Yeah, definitely. Because over the last 4 years, since 2020, there has been a kind of frigidity about, India and China, especially after the Galwan Valley incident in June, when some 20 Indian soldiers were killed and a few other Chinese soldiers were killed in a clash. Since then, things have really synced. They really nosedived, and it was really completely. It was probably amongst the lowest points, in the last many years. So, from that point of view, if you see in October when India and China agreed that there would be disengagement and patrolling would resume on both sides along the line of actual control in Depsang and Demchok in Ladakh. So it was a big jump, and of course there have been talks continuously from 2020 in bits and starts, and many other patrolling points like Pangong Tso, and Hot Springs and Gograd. So these kind of things, there were resolutions, but Depsang and Demchok were particularly crucial because they are strategically positioned. And for India and China to have agreed to disengage and resume patrolling, it was definitely a big move. And also, if you see that announcement came just around the time when Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Xi Jinping met on the sidelines of the BRICS summit. So it was definitely a crucial meeting, and since then things have got much better. In fact, as we speak, we have the National Security Advisor Ajit Doval visiting China, and as part of the special representatives meeting. Now, this special representatives meeting is happening after 5 years, and this meeting of special representatives is particularly focused on the border dispute. And it is happening, there have already been some 22 meetings in the past, but over the last 5 years, there were no meetings. It was a reflection of the tension between the two countries. And now for Doval to actually go to China and for this meeting to happen, the indications are pretty positive. And it also goes to show that India is now looking at China in a much more friendlier fashion, and it's also being equally well reciprocated.
Okay. Is this friendly overture or reaction to India's tensions with US and Canada?
Yeah, we can look at it like that, though of course we cannot say it's because of that. But what it shows is that there is a change in India's foreign policy vis-a-vis China. India over the last, say, 5 years and even much earlier had moved very close to the US and the Western countries as far as its alliances were concerned. But a few things have happened since September 2023, that is last year. Starting with the allegations that India was involved in the assassination of the Khalistani activist in Canada, Nijjar, Hardeep Singh Nijjar. The point here is the allegations came, and India was expecting some kind of protection from the others. But then the US totally backed Canada, and not only the US, even the United Kingdom and Australia, they backed Canada. So India, it was a kind of a jolt for India. And so the Modi government realized that when it comes to the crunch, they kind of stand together. That is the first point. The second one was the attempted assassination of Panun, the other Khalistan activist in the US, and the US, alleging that Indian agents had a direct role in it, and in fact, one of them is in jail for this very reason, and so it was a kind of a mess that happened, and so this was another cause for concern between for India, and also the fact that the relationship it didn't do any good to relationship between US and India, and of course the biggest thing was the recent allegations of corruption against Gautam Adani, India's industrialist, and the group, and there were allegations in the US that they attempted to bribe some of the decision makers in India over a solar unit, so which they are planning to set up. So the point here is this has become, this is, all this has kind of muddied the relationship between India and the US. And to top it, you had this issue about George Soros, and how the Indian the BJP, the ruling party, has attempted to bring in George Soros, and has in fact gone to the extent of saying that the US intelligence and the State Department is trying to meddle in India's internal affairs and trying to destabilize the Modi government, which is a very serious charge. The US, of course, reacted and said it was extremely unhappy with this kind of a description, and also we are talking about US and India, which is today have actually one of the closest relationships, and on top of it you have these kind of huge negative developments, and it's not that and India being a country that has always tried to attempt to kind of balance out relationship between one bloc, that is the Soviet, and the not the earlier Soviet bloc, and the US, and now trying to balance, say, Russia and the US. So it is, it looks like there is some kind of a recalibration that is happening, and India is looking at China in a much more positive way, and it's trying to kind of balance one against the other. Instead of put all its eggs in one basket, that is the Western basket.
Okay. So, what do we make of this shift in India's position?
So, what it basically shows is that India, over a period of time, historically speaking, India has a legacy of non-alignment. What it basically means is that India doesn't go very close to any one particular country. At the same time, it doesn't antagonize any other country either. So, India is a kind of a nation which tries to have some kind of a relationship with all nations, and so that is the reason why Indian foreign policy is really it's one of the main thrusts of India's foreign policy is its the importance it gives to multipolarity rather than bipolarity or unipolarity. So in the quest to look at a multipolar world, what Indian foreign policy historically has tried to do is not to antagonize anyone. In fact, keep everyone happy. It's that kind of a policy. So now that this has happened and there is some kind of a friction now between the US, Canada, and India, India is now trying to kind of go back to its previous avatar, of being friends with everyone. And it also realizes that China is a country that India can't do without, because India, China today, they have a very strong trade. They are neighbors, and they have to live with each other. And there's really no point being hostile to China or try to ignore it. At the same time, it's mutual. If India does it, so will China. It's both ways. It works both ways. So India is trying to kind of balance out one interest over the other, and ensure that its interests are protected eventually.
Okay. My last question to you is, overall, is India's foreign policy proactive or reactive?
We would like to, as Indians, we would really want India to be proactive. When we say proactive, what we mean is that India should be setting the narrative, and India should be setting the pitch for the trajectory of a particular relationship. Unfortunately, that is not yet the case, because India is still not a very big economic power. It doesn't have the heft. like China or the US. So it can't determine the narrative of of foreign policy. So this is one of the reasons why India is mostly reactive. Now, in this particular case, where is the reaction? The reaction is to what is happening in the US and Canada as far as the Khalistani activist issue is concerned, or the Gautam Adani issue is concerned, or this allegations of destabilization, etc. So it's a reaction to that rather than India trying to say that follow us or we will set the narrative. So this is something that India still needs to reach. I don't know when that will happen, but the simple answer is India still has a reactive foreign policy, not a proactive foreign policy.
The Federal and Francis Xavier Engineering College jointly present the Nelai Marathon 2024. This event is powered by Little Flower Public School and NIMS Hospital, Tirunelveli. Run for Health on Sunday, December 29. Entry is free and all are welcome.